Welcome to Hockeywiztalks podcast. Today I'll be talking about why the NHL struggles to be relevant in the US. In this podcast, I'll talk about why the NHL struggles to flourish in the US like the other North American sport leagues. Hockey is such an amazing sport and has so much more potential as a professional sports league in the US than what it is currently. Compared to the NFL, NBA, and MLB, the NHL is irrelevant in the United States. So much so that they don't even get any coverage in mainstream media. Mainstream outlets constantly cover the NFL and NBA, but they hardly have any NHL topics. These sport talk shows on TV and on radio are the key to generating buzz around the league. And the NHL doesn't even get talked about when the playoffs are going on. For people that don't follow hockey, it would be honestly really tough to know about the players and the games being played, because the media doesn't talk about it. That isn't the case with American football or basketball, because those players are covered as celebrities, while hockey players are just hockey players. The bottom line is the NHL does not do a good enough job of promoting the game, nor does it do a good enough job with making their superstars household names. The NHL is the little brother compared to the NFL, NBA, and MLB in the US, and it definitely shows through the TV revenue generated and player salaries. And now a word from our sponsor. Check out my scouting blog at Hockeywist777scouting.com. Listen to my scouting blog podcast on anchor.fm/Hockeywist777scouting. Most people will know top NBA players because they are marketed very well and are constantly in advertisements, which makes it easier for the audience to recognize them even if they don't follow the game. There are NBA players like LeBron James, Steph Curry, and Kevin Durant, along with a host of other top stars who are household names. And even if you're not an avid NBA fan, you would know who those players are because of their heavy promotion. Although the NFL has less individual focus than the NBA, there are a select few superstars like Pat Mahomes and Tom Brady who have become household names due to their play on the field and because of the various endorsement deals. Where the NHL falls short is that they fail to promote their superstars to an audience that does not watch hockey, so the casual fan may not even know who Connor McDavid is. That is a travesty, especially when you have so much star talent in the league now, and you get to witness several generational superstars competing at the same time. As great as Connor McDavid is as a hockey player, people who don't watch hockey may not know who he is because the ads he stars in only appear on NHL broadcasts or on NHL Network. What the NFL and NBA does so well is that they force the audience to know who the stars are, and there are certain teams that always get media coverage like the Cowboys and Lakers despite not being very good. There is a gigantic pay gap between the top NHL players and NBA players. In fact, Connor McDavid is making as much money this year as Marvin Bagley, who also makes $12.5 million per season. Jono Smith, a tight end for the New England Patriots, also makes the same amount per season as Connor McDavid. Those two players I mentioned are role players in their respective leagues, yet Connor McDavid, who is a superstar and the face of the NHL, is making the same as role players. That's how you know the NHL is behind. The reason why the NBA and NFL can pay their players so much money is mainly because of their TV deals. The NBA is now preparing to sell a $1 billion worth exclusive package under its next TV deal. In the upcoming long-term TV negotiations, the NBA will be seeking a $50 to $75 billion deal. It would double or triple its current 9-year, $24 billion contract signed in 2014 with Disney's ABC and ESPN and Warner Bros. In 2021, the NFL signed media deals worth over $100 billion over 11 years with CBS, NBC, Fox, ESPN, and Amazon to broadcast their games. The NHL meanwhile has a 7-year, $225 million media deal with ESPN and ABC of the Walt Disney Company, as well as TBS and TNT of Turner. When the NBA and NFL is making billions and the NHL is making millions, it really goes to show you how far behind the NHL is in the American market. Check out my hockey blog at hockeywiztalkshockey.blogspot.com. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Hockeywist777. The playoffs are the most exciting part of any sports season, but the intensity of the rivalries that come with the NHL playoffs makes it extra exciting. Even though the NHL playoffs are very exciting, The NHL fails to generate the same amount of buzz as when March Madness is being played or as when the NFL, NBA, or MLB playoffs are being played. The Super Bowl is arguably the biggest sports event in North America, which is why a 30-second advertisement slot in this year's Super Bowl cost $7 million. Super Bowl 57 between the Kansas City Chiefs and Philadelphia Eagles was a huge success, drawing an average of 113 million across Fox's television and digital properties. Last year's NBA Finals between the Golden State Warriors and Boston Celtics drew an average of 12.4 million viewers in the US. The Stanley Cup Finals last year between the Colorado Avalanche and Tampa Bay Lightning drew 4.59 million per game. For several years now, NHL fans have been complaining about the NHL's current playoff format, which has without a doubt had an impact on the outcome of the Stanley Cup playoffs. As Sidney Crosby pointed out recently, the current playoff format has completely ruined the NHL to a point where there will be many great teams that get eliminated in the first round that shouldn't have. The NHL's reasoning for not changing the current playoff format is that they want to generate divisional rivalries. But in the NHL, you don't need to generate rivalries in the playoffs because they're going to naturally be generated throughout the course of a 7-game series, because every team is fighting for one common goal. The NHL has a lot going for them, but when you compare them to the other 3 major sport leagues in North America, they simply don't stack up, and a major reason for that is the playoffs just aren't as interesting in the other leagues. Listen to Hockeywiztalks podcast on Podbean and Spotify. Check out my YouTube channel at youtube.com/Hockeywiz777. If the NHL really wants to grow like the NFL and NBA has, I have a few solutions as to how that could happen. First and foremost, they need to start having those sport talk shows and debate shows talk about the NHL, just like they do about the NBA and NFL. The reason why most mainstream media outlets don't cover hockey is because Americans simply aren't as interested in the NHL. The NHL has to do something to change that and get them more interested in the product, whether it's in promotion on social media or advertising on mainstream platforms that aren't NHL Network. The next thing the NHL has to do is start treating their superstars, like in other professional sport leagues. But that will be tough because it goes against hockey culture. The NHL is still very medieval in their mindset compared to other leagues, and they believe that one player should not have superstar treatment as it would rub other teammates the wrong way. Until the NHL changes their old ways of thinking and start treating their superstars like superstars, the game is never going to grow. Lastly, the playoff format needs to be changed back to the 1-8 format, because with how competitive the Eastern Conference is this year, there will be so many teams with early round exits that could have continued playing in the playoffs had they used the 1-8 format. If the NHL improves this product and starts to appeal to the masses, then it might be able to cash in on its next TV deal. If not, they will stay status quo. In my next podcast, I'll be doing an NHL playoff picture update.